Hello, friends. Greetings. Mari Smith here. I am so happy to be with you today. I've been looking forward to this broadcast for quite a while, and I am honored to team up with the good folks at ManyChat. We are going to be talking all about how you can humanize your messenger automation, your chatbots. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions out there, and I have a very special guest with me today. We're going to dive in and talk about how to bring that more human element. Please welcome Sid Suri. He's the CMO of ManyChat. And ManyChat, hi Sid, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
And ManyChat is the #1 chatbot platform on the Messenger platform. Did I mix that up? The #1 bot platform
That
in
is
the
correct.
Messenger.
Yep.
So, and I've been a big fan of you guys for several years, and you guys have been actually pioneering messenger marketing for a couple of years, which I've really enjoyed the journey that you've been on, because it's kind of an interesting arena. And with this whole year now, we're 8 months into 2019, and Mark Zuckerberg kind of did this whole pivot earlier this year and said the future is private. And so they're absolutely doubling down on messenger marketing, of course, bringing in Instagram Direct and WhatsApp. We'll predominantly talk about Messenger today, or just messaging automation. And so I know that in your experience as CMO of ManyChat, Sid, that you've had a lot of different questions and different like conversations that come up around what is this whole thing with chatbots and AI and messenger automation. So let's dive into our discussion here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're spot on. You know, the Mark Zuckerberg F8 keynote was super exciting. I mean, as a messenger marketing company, I don't think I could have written that keynote for him any better. Like, if somebody had said, "Hey, could you write Mark's keynote for F8?" I would have said, "Okay, the future of Facebook is messaging," and that's what he did. It was amazing. So,
Exactly.
for those of us who have been beating the messenger drum and the messaging drum, whether it's WhatsApp, Instagram Direct, in the future SMS and iMessage, for those of us who have been essentially saying the world is going to messaging, the world is already in messaging in many markets. It was a great validation and really, just a great, sign of things to come. So we're super excited here at ManyChat. We're going to continue to sort of, building a great product and watching the excitement unfurl. But
I agree. If I just interject right quick there,
yeah,
Sid. So folks watching, so F8, as some of you probably know about, some might not. F8 is Facebook's annual developer conference, and it's held around April, May every year. And as Sid is talking about, immediately following Zuck's keynote, they brought up Asha Sharma, who's the now head of Messenger, and they're doing all kinds of things with Messenger. They're literally talking about rebuilding it from the ground up so it's the world's fastest, lightest messaging platform, and they're building what they call a social network around the messaging platform. So marketers, pay attention. This is where it's at. This is the future we're going to be talking about right here. So
yeah,
back to you.
absolutely. And this is a great segue into our first question, because I think the most common question we get is, "Hey, where is this messenger thing going? Where's messenger marketing going? Should I invest in it?" Nobody sort of asked those questions when email came around, because I think email had just a very natural sort of translation to the mail that they always knew. I get mail, I send mail, I put it in the post office. It takes 3 days to get there, but whatever. I'm familiar with the concept. Now there's email. It sort of flies over the wires and gets to somebody instantly. So people didn't question it as much. But with Messenger and Messenger marketing, people are asking, "Hey, is this thing here to stay? What's it all about? Where's it going?" I would say that's probably one of the biggest questions we see, amongst people who are maybe not as familiar with it yet. And I'm just wondering, is that something you're hearing in your community? And what would you say to that?
Yes, Sid, I think honestly it's very early days. I know ManyChat's been around for a few years, and you guys have a wealth of experience being the #1 platform here. But the thing is that there's a big kind of shakeout going on between consumers and businesses, because those that are actually getting it right, the marketers, the businesses, the brands, they've got this really perfect balance between providing solutions like answers, speedy real-time answers, right, via bots, And then all the conversations element of it, bringing in the human beings as soon as necessary, as soon as the person is maybe needing a more complex answer or just wants to talk to a human. And I think that's the downfall where marketers are maybe, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, just, maybe like kind of treating Messenger as like, oh, great, I have another channel that I can just push my message through, and it's like, don't do that, because I tell you what, the subscribers will unsubscribe in a heartbeat if we overdo it, So anyway, to your question of where's it going, to really anchor this point that Zuckerberg is on this mantra, beating his drum, the future is private. Just yesterday, we saw that they're now going to be bringing in Instagram Direct to the Messenger platform. This was already announced like in the beginning of the year with that whole interoperability. So folks that don't know what that is, it's basically if you prefer Messenger and you want to message someone who prefers Instagram or WhatsApp, it's like it's all intertwined, and you can message people on whatever app you want. So that's really going to be starting to happen very, very soon. So this is it. This is the future right here. This privacy-focused future that Zuck is building.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the tagline he gave was to move from the digital town square to the digital living room.
Yes.
I think that's super exciting for marketers because on one hand, anybody can go and get their microphone and start shouting in the town square or the digital town square. And if you walk through S Square in San Francisco, you'll see a lot of shouting going on. But the digital living room is a really exciting concept because you are now essentially getting access to the very intimate, to the very private sort of emotions and conversations that people have. And it's not going to be for everybody. I don't think every marketer with a bullhorn is going to be let in. But if you've got something valuable to offer, if you've got something that they care about, you actually have a much better forum if Zuckerberg's vision is sort of realized. So it's super exciting from that standpoint.
You know what you're reminding of, Sid, here is that, so in my book I wrote many years ago now, The New Relationship Marketing. Relationship marketing as a term has been around since the 1980s, and that's where it's focused on the long-term relationship of a customer that, as opposed to traditional sales and marketing, is more transactional focused, right? Close the deal, get the sale, move on. So the new part that I put in my book is this digital component, is how do we do relationship marketing through digital transactions, through digital channels, and that's the main key right there, as you say, that the marketers that are really going to win the day is that they're not losing that human touch and that really kind of having that intimacy. You're absolutely right that it's like, okay, if we're now going into the living room, we're going into the one-on-one communications with their mobile device. And I say a messenger conversation is like having somebody's cell phone number and being able to text message them because it's that intimate, right?
Yep. No, you're exactly right. That's exactly what it is. So what would, just building on that theme about intimacy and sort of one-on-one, what would be your vision for a great experience? Like, how do you, like, if you could design the perfect marketing experience, what would it be?
Okay. All right. I'm so glad we're going to talk about this, Sid, because I got to say that I personally, in all transparency, my friends, I am like working out what does Mari Smith's brand of messaging look like. And I've had a few different goes at it. And I personally am kind of right there with a lot of folks who are like, ooh, how's this really going to work? And I just no way I'm going to use it for like just broadcasting. So my vision, and this is for me, everybody's going to work out for what's good for their own brand, is a highly engaging, interactive to the nth degree, fun, is it entertaining even, a little bit of humor. The idea that my audience would actually look forward to interacting with my bot, and they would come to Messenger and go, I wonder what cool tips and ideas and hacks and breaking news and fun stuff Mari has for me today. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, there she is. And it's like they wouldn't dream of unsubscribing. That would be my vision for my brand. Now, of course, it's going to be different for every company,
Yeah, and I think that's spot on. And I think a lot of what you said is all about having something valuable to say. And if you have something valuable to say, you do your research on who your audience is and what they want to hear from you, then you're going to have that great engagement and you're not going to get those unsubscribes. And I think everybody can sort of learn from that, from what you're already doing probably, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because what's kind of been fodder for that vision is just really listening and looking and seeing like what kinds of questions are people asking me like all the time, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. It's like private, public, like there's so many areas where people want to maybe clarify some urban legends, some myths, and some information that's going around that isn't quite accurate about Facebook or the family of apps. Or that we get a lot of requests for technical issues, and people have been locked out, or they're in Facebook jail, or lost a password, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of tech support. They literally think I work for Facebook, so I know that I could handle a lot of that with a very well programmed chat bot. Right? If you're looking for tech support, click here, and we'll give them all kinds of answers and solutions. But more importantly, like you were saying, is like making sure that we're dialoguing. I think we were talking about this in the green room about dialoguing with the people who are your prospects, who are your customers, but still being nice and giving value to those who will probably never be your customers. Like in my case, people looking for tech support. I can just, provide as much as I can, guide them, go over here to the Facebook help, and then, move on. So yeah, anyway, that's that.
So, I get asked a lot from people, oh, what are you doing these days? Where are you working? And I tell them, and a lot of people, they're like, oh, a chatbot. I don't want to talk to a robot. I want to talk to a person. And there are a lot of people that sort of get annoyed, or they have maybe a mental resistance to, well, can this thing really help me? Or is it going to be able to answer my question? Maybe they've had a bad experience in the past. All technology evolves. How do we win those people over? What would you say to sort of, there's a population out there that are just sort of maybe not ready to talk to in a more automated way?
Yeah. I'm seeing some great comments here. Our good friend Molly here, who says, know your community. That's so true. It's very important. Oopsies. Bring back Sid. There we go. I put the comment on the screen and I lost Sid for a moment. Okay, so love this question here, Sid. You're right, because I know like behind the scenes, people will tell me that I subscribe to like half a dozen bots, and then they're like, I got overwhelming, and I unsubscribe.
Right.
So, and that's fine. It's like, we're still kind of in a very much a testing ground as marketers and businesses. And I think one of the main keys, and I've heard this a lot, I've seen this a lot, is the number one is to never pretend that it's not a bot. Don't pretend like it's a real human, because people will sniff that out in a nanosecond, right? It's a setup for failure right there. So be realistic. We were talking about this offline too. Just last night I was reading David Cancel's book called Conversational Marketing. And this whole, they're close cousins. Relationship marketing, conversational marketing, they're just very much in the same camp. And this concept of like asking open-ended questions might be an area. Now, obviously, if you're set up for that, if you've got the ability to then program in for some keywords and derive them to begin a conversation, maybe with a salesperson. But really, the thing is about elevating the experience. Someone else I want to cite is, I just got back literally late last night from speaking at the Impact Live event. And Brian Halligan, CEO of HubSpot, he was a speaker there as well. And what I loved about his talk is like, oh my God, everybody's talking about disruption. And he's like, I think that word is like really overused. Same as like machine learning and AI. It's like they get overused and watered down. But what Brian did, Halligan, CEO of HubSpot, he talked about experience disruption. And I put that in my notes for this particular conversation, because what if we could disrupt the experience of people interacting through chatbots, such that, as I mentioned earlier with my own vision for my bot, which can take a lot of programming, is to really have people feel like elevated and joyful and love interacting with the bot. And I just think that's a real key takeaway there for marketers tuning in, is like, how can you just stand out and really put the focus on the end user, on the prospect, the customer, as opposed to making it about you pushing your message out?
I love that. I love that. Disrupt the experience. Did you think about that last night on your plane ride over? No rest for the weary for Mari.
I know. My body clock was like, went to bed at 3 a.m. Oh my gosh. It is.
Well,
I'm a
we
warrior. Just do what you got to do.
we appreciate the warrior spirit. I love that. I love disrupt the experience. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're trying to do. Where the experience till now has been a passive sort of blast. I mean, if you think about a website, right, it's just sort of one size fits all. It's a blast experience. Emails are a blast experience. Landing pages are a blast experience. And I think, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think marketers have, to some extent, maybe been a little aggressive with, not aggressive, but they've been sort of, they've taken what they know with email and landing pages, and they've sort of put that into Messenger. So it becomes this sort of one size fits all, let's just blast stuff out
Yeah.
like we do. And I know Facebook recently, has sort of clamped down on this stuff a little bit. They've made this might be getting a little technical, but I'll be quick. What's called subscription messaging, but the ability to send regular content to your customers, they've really clamped down on the rules around that, like who can do it, who can't do it. And they've just made it harder because I think they're trying to sort of push marketers away from this one size fits all blasting. And,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh, given that you're sort of the guru a little bit on relationship marketing, what would your advice be to those folks? And do you feel like marketers have become too aggressive?
Yeah, so I love this topic too, Sid, because there's a reason that Facebook really implemented that rule. I believe it was as of July 31st. And if you don't know what we're talking about here, friends, is like you go into your Facebook page on desktop, go into your settings, look under messaging, and you'll see there's a place there to apply to get permission to send what are called subscription-based broadcasts. Now that's set up for, let's say you have an astrology daily tip or a weather app or excuse me, or something that would be non-promotional. It's not that you don't have the permission from Facebook to actually just like, hey, sign up for my stuff. That's actually the opposite of that. And that's why, in essence, this rule is there, because the last thing that Facebook wants is to put anything in between the consumer, the users, the billion plus 1.5 billion that use Messenger, and businesses where there's revenue there. And obviously there's also commerce, there's conversations that can really help more businesses want to use these apps and platforms. And so it's kind of a delicate area to manage that relationship. So yes, go ahead and sign up for your subscription messages, but make sure that you use that very, very carefully. The challenge here with the aggressiveness is I think that some marketers have come into the chatbot world and they're treating chat messaging conversations or broadcasts just like email. And like you said earlier, that's push marketing. It's not an intimate experience. Email is not, it's a little more intimate than a public group chat because it's just one-on-one, but it's not interactive. It's not two-way. It's like, here, read my message. But the last thing we want to do is that. So I know Andrew Warner of Bot Academy, I think, is a good friend of your guys, ManyChat. And I'm quoting Andrew here that he says, chat will eventually overtake email as the most popular way for businesses to reach customers. Which I think is brilliant. You know why? Because it's like we live in an instant gratification world, universe. People want short, simple, and I know that like the millennials and the Gen Zs, 21 and under, they don't even bother setting up their voicemail. They are all about the short text, the short messages, back and forth, emojis. So as businesses, if we can adopt that kind of strategy, the more intimate and short way forward. And I think really a way that people can get started here, Sid, is to start with a very, very simple bot. Just simple, like and like I was talking about earlier with my own audience, study your inbox, your current like Facebook page, Messenger, and other areas, maybe your Twitter DM, your Instagram DM, LinkedIn DM even, and look at what are the frequently asked questions, what is your audience, your community, your customers, what do they already want? Maybe for a certain type of business, They just want directions and pricing and product information. That's super easy to program and set up. Maybe you have a more complicated business and people might want more in-depth discussions, which is where you're going to go ahead and lead them down a path that will get them to talk to a human quicker. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. And that's something that we've always emphasized, that you sort of need this smart blend of automation and human.
Yeah.
You really can't expect the automation side to be this fix-all for everything. But at the same time, you're never, as a small business, going to be able to scale if everything needs a conversation, right? You don't have a call center like those bigger companies with 1,000 people waiting to answer chats or emails or phone calls. So you need that sort of something that can sort of go back and forth. So you're answering the questions that matter, and sort of automating the ones that are just building people up to the point where they need you.
Yes.
I think that's spot on. That's definitely something we preach. I do think that messaging will take over email much faster than we think it will. I mean, internally here at ManyChat, we don't use any email, like almost non-existent. I email with you
Yeah.
because we're part of two different, companies, but internally, 95, 99% of my communication is on Slack.
Yeah.
And it's short messages, and it's emojis, and it's memes. And if 10 years ago you had told me the future of American business or corporate communication is memes and emojis and short messages, I would have said you're crazy. If I showed this stuff to my dad, he'd be like, "What are you guys doing over there? Get serious." Like, this is not work. So,
That's
and
funny.
that's inside of, like, and Slack, of course, one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies of all time.
Yeah.
And that is, taking over corporate messaging, taking over corporate communication. So, the roadmap is already there.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's a trail that's already been tread on. And I think it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that this becomes the de facto way we talk to businesses. So I think we just all need to be prepared on how we're going to facilitate those conversations to the best way possible.
Agreed.
Um, I think you brought up a great point about humanizing and relationships. I think that's maybe the next step. It's not something I've thought a ton about, but so I would love to hear your perspective. It feels like the next sort of step for marketers to up their game from sort of where we are today to sort of, maybe ninja level of messenger marketing.
I love that. Ninja level. Yeah. You know what's interesting, Sid? I was really thinking about this. I really, in some ways, I wish we could create a different name than bot or chatbot or even AI or machine learning, because it's not even artificial. It's programmed by humans. Okay, yeah, and then it can learn, but it's like,
Right.
remember the old, I'm dating myself here, but the old acronym GIGO, G-I-G-O, is garbage in, garbage out. But if you put good in, good out, right? So the poor human experience on the, if somebody's like not having an optimal experience through interacting with a chatbot, it's not because of the bot. Like, don't shoot the messenger, haha, pun intended, right? But it's like, it's actually it's the humans that have programmed it. Like, we need to go, wait a minute, how can we put ourselves in our customers' shoes, as I say? I was really just mentioned a conversational marketing, terrific book just came out by David Cancel, and there was a part in there that he says, you know what? The solution is simple, that we let ourselves just go a little bit crazy, where we were all over and just obsessed with data and analytics and tracking every detail, that we forgot about the people we're serving. But the solution is simple, and this goes for messenger marketing as well, that we just need to get back to basics as marketers and salespeople, and we need to return to the core of what the buying process and the business process is. It's a conversation between buyer and seller. And that, I think, is one of the key takeaways here. It's like not about you being a marketer and pushing. That is so old school. It's like being an opening, being a context, being available for, hey, Mr. Prospect, Mrs. Prospect, how can I serve you? What's on your mind today? How can we solve your problems? Oh, yeah, actually what we offer does solve your problems. Let's help walk through that process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So are there any examples out there, people who are doing this well? Like, what's the inspiration? What can we learn?
So I was like, oh my gosh, I honestly said this is my goal, is to have a list of amazing chatbot examples. I've asked some of my community to submit some, and then still really being in a shakeout. There's one, I was trying to find his name, and I had subscribed to him some time ago. He does like real estate leads. He does a really great job. We were talking offline a bit about, you had mentioned a Pond's Cream, about interacting with a bot, and it's like going to make a recommendation based on your skin type. I know Sephora Cosmetics does a great job with like setting up a beauty consultation. That's on the kind of the brand level. I want to give a shout out to actually a couple of fellow speakers, I believe, that are coming to the Conversations Conference. We'll mention that in a minute. Is Kelly Noble Mirabella and Carrie Gottschalk. They do a really great job of hopping in with real humans. I've interacted with both of their bots. Excuse me, and within a few seconds they're like, oh hey, it's really me here. And I do my best to do the same, and sometimes with volume that can be challenging though. And I think that's really the way of the future, is especially if you're a personality based brand like myself, but regardless of the size of your business, depending on how you want to scale, right? If messaging in Messenger, and we're going to include Instagram Direct and WhatsApp in this conversation, if that's for sure the future, which we already know it is, then where you're going to have your sweet spot is deploying a team, which you can eventually grow, of very well-trained customer service agents, or it could be our sales or marketing. Like, they're all fused together, that it's their customer facing and they really understand your brand values and can interact with forward facing, interact with the audience, so the community.
Awesome. Well, thank you for bringing up the conference. I think, yes, Kelly and Carrie are coming, but more importantly, you're coming.
I am.
And delivering a keynote. So we're super excited about that. And we're super excited that you're able to fit us in. I know how busy you are. And you're sort of traveling and speaking and learning and writing and Facebook Living and all the things. So we super appreciate it. The conference, just for the listeners, is in Austin, which is a wonderful and really fun city. September 13th through the 15th, and it's all about messenger marketing. We're going to be talking about messenger marketing, sort of big picture, where's it going, strategies, tactics, case studies, all the way down from the big to the small, lots of speakers, yourself, obviously. We've announced all of these speakers already online, but the first day keynote, the closing keynote, sort of the celebrity keynote, is going to be Randi Zuckerberg, who happens to be sister with another Zuckerberg your folks might have heard about. She actually invented Facebook Live, which is kind of crazy.
She did. That's right.
And she's a really very vocal, very outspoken, sort of powerful woman in tech and media, and has done a great job with sort of evangelizing, more responsible tech. So we're super excited to have her. But yeah, it's going to be a great time, and you're going to be delivering a keynote. And do you want to just tell people a little bit about what you're going to talk about?
I sure will. I just real quick shared. There's Molly. I shared my screen right quick here just to give folks a quick peek at the page and all of the great speakers that are coming. So I'm actually going to be talking about Facebook marketing in a changing world and what marketers need to know. And so we talked quite a bit today about Facebook's and Mark Zuckerberg's new mission of going private, going ephemeral, which means disappearing like stories, and going encrypted. Now, there are some key executives who've actually left the company because they don't buy into Zuckerberg's vision. And those include Chris Cox, Chris Daniels, former head of WhatsApp, certainly Kevin Systrom and his partner, Mike, co-founder of Instagram, and the two co-founders of WhatsApp. So now this is normal, usually in acquisitions, they go on, they're going to create something else. But there's definitely been some shaking up going on behind the scenes. And so how are we as marketers going to embrace this change and cope with, or maximize, moreover, optimize a world without newsfeed? Is newsfeed really going away? What are all the features that will still be public facing? How do we lean into this whole privacy aspect around messaging, but also groups and stories? Where does video and Facebook Live have its place? I will be talking about all of that and dispelling myths and making absolute clarity out of any confusion.
Perfect. I think that's wonderful. I think that, you have the kind of insight and insider info and access that I think a lot of people don't have. And, I was talking to one of our agents partners, and he was asking me, hey, what's going on with Facebook? I can't get even, anyone out there on an email thread, let alone a phone call. So for them to have access through you and through others, to really understand, hey, what is going on with this company? What are they up to? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have bet their sort of business on it, right? I mean, this is their lives. They've bet their small business marketing. They've bet their, they're part of the ManyChat's one of them. We're a sort of Facebook ecosystem company, and people want to know what's going on. So I think that's such a great, so great that you're choosing that as your topic.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and it's just like, I was just thinking there about how Instagram is hiding the likes, right? Or testing hiding likes. And when we think about it, the engagement on stories is not public facing. So it's just like now they're taking the same kind of feature, the same concept of private engagement from stories, and they're applying it to public posts. And there's many reasons why they're doing that. We can get into it a little bit in the conference, but it's definitely a part of this whole future is private. So I'm really excited about it, and I appreciate you having me. I did have a mastermind that weekend, and I decided to postpone it, rearrange it. I'm going to go in the spring so that I can specifically come to the Conversations Conference. And folks, you just go to conversationsconference.com. I will link you up with a special code. You can get a little bit of savings on your ticket there. Really look forward to seeing everybody there.
Mari 30.
It's Mari 30. Thank you.
Mari 30. MARI 30. Mari 30, and they get 30% off for using the code.
Oh, good. Perfect. I'm multitasking here, and I popped it in there.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Well, I know we have a lot of great comments and questions here, and I don't know what we had allowed about 30 minutes for this, so I'm going to do my best to circle back. If you've got any specific questions for ManyChat or for myself, contribute to this conversation. Tell us, show us. We want to see what's on your bot. What examples do you have? What would you love to see in the world of bots? But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in here, and thank you, Sid, for taking the time.
Of course, thank you. It's always fun to talk to you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. I'll circle back and check your questions. Bye for now.
Bye.